everyone by now knows that the name Steve Prefontaine is synonymous with true American distance running grit. He aided in inspiring a generation of US runners to take advantage of their talent and to run their hearts out no matter how the race would unfold. However, a lot of focus on Prefontaine's legacy has primarily been recognized from his expertise on the track, which is fair given the latter part and main highlights of his career were track-oriented. Although, Pre's cross-country prowess is highly underlooked even today, and perhaps a bit underdocumented as well, as on YouTube you'll struggle to find more than a few seconds of him running on the grass. Even though this will primarily be a story told through newspaper articles only, I figured it'd be a fun idea to delve into the newspaper archives and tell the story of Prefontaine's journey to becoming not just one of the most prolific track and field runners, but also one of the most prolific cross-country runners of the 1960s and 70s. Pre's first cross-country season would actually be his first formal running season, contrary to what some might think, as while he had a vested interest in running early on, it wouldn't be until he enrolled at Marshfield High School that he joined the cross-country team his freshman year, under the guise of Walt McClure Jr. Back then, teams would not only log every athlete's mileage, but would even make it a public ordeal, publishing these records to the newspaper every so often. Originally, Pre was simply mentioned as a general asset to the team, but would find himself quickly climbing the ranks of the Pirates ladder, placing 7th at the Gold Beach Invitational as their number 3 guy. By late October, Coach McClure alluded to Pre potentially becoming their number 2 runner, and this prediction would slowly start to look true as he placed as the number 3 guy again with a top 20 finish at their district meet. At the state meet, however, Pre would have his first breakout performance where he not only came through as their second best runner, but almost placed in the top 50 as well. With the senior stud of the group, Jim Villanueva, graduated, Tom Huggins would seem to take over as the head of the Pirates squad, as he would win the first dual meet they entered, with Pre trailing not too far behind in 3rd place. Pre's development as an athlete, though, would almost skyrocket from here on out, as he won a quad meet a week later where he outkicked Huggins, placed 2nd at another meet, and then won 2 tri-meets in a row where he gapped the rest of the field by over 30 seconds. As the district's meet arrived again, Pre would likely enter himself into the lead mix to try and win the entire thing, and he would come fairly close, grabbing a bronze medal to help the Pirates win a district title. This year's state meet would put Pre on the map not just for Coos County, but the entire state of Oregon for the first time, because the 6th place finish hinted at a level of greatness many were curious about by the time he raced on the grass again next fall. Pre's junior year of cross country can likely be attributed as the birth of his aggressive and dominant running style coming into full fruition. Unfortunately, not many results from the Pirates are recorded from this specific year, but we do have documentation of his district's race, and well, he destroyed the entire competition. Of course, the real deal would be the state championships, but the thing was, he made the rest of the field look like he was racing a dual meet there too, winning his first state title by 12 seconds, and even setting a course record along the way. Senior year is perhaps the best documentation we have of Pre's high school cross-country mastery, likely because at this point he was inching his way into becoming a national superstar in the high school running world with the aid of his last track season. The gaps he would win meet after meet by was quite frankly pretty comical. One was 48 seconds, another was 44 seconds. You can really just keep counting them off one after the other. So it wouldn't come as a surprise that Pre won yet another state title, but not without someone contesting him a little bit. In hindsight, it is a shame that something like Foot Locker or Nike Cross Nationals didn't exist at this point in time, because Pre probably would have competed there and would have loved to have challenged his contemporaries at the national level. Thankfully, after enrolling at the University of Oregon, following a phenomenal senior year in track, Pre would get the chance to indulge in the D1 NCAA realm and to see just how well his high school dominance would translate over to the collegiate side of things. Pre's first collegiate cross-country season as an Oregon Duck was a fairly conservative approach, either at the discretion of his coach, or perhaps that the team in general approached the season this way. Regardless, there were 3 key meets that the team prepared for no matter what, which were the division championships, the conference championships, and of course, the prestigious D1 NCAA championships. Pre was set to make his debut in early November for the Northern Division ones, where in a shocking turn of events, would upset 2-time national champion Jerry Lindgren from Washington State, and would also beat the 6-mile course record by over a minute. At Pac 8s, however, it was as strict of a stride-for-stride showdown as it could get, as the race between Pre and Lindgren was so dramatically tight that it was officially declared a dead heat, meaning they tied it down to the 10th of a second. However, the officials would eventually give Lindgren the win, but Oregon would still take the team title. At the D1 NCAA championships, Pre's condition early on into the race was reported to be subpar, as he had allegedly been coughing up blood as early as half a mile in. He would grit his way through the national tier competition and would ultimately come out with a hard-fought bronze medal, which, to say the least, was pretty phenomenal for a freshman. Sophomore year was the same deal in terms of scheduling, same 3 meets, and the same 3 opportunities to make some Oregon magic happen. With Lindgren graduated, this made his work at the Northern Division meet a much easier task to win, and in the same breath would display the same type of ease at the Pac 8 meet, winning his first conference title by about 14 seconds. Even though these titles were practically a walk in the park for Pre, the sophomore Duck would still have his work cut out for him, with the likes of Villanova superstars Donald Walsh and Marty LaCory, or top returnee from Texas El Paso who was the same class as Pre, John Bednarski. In one of the quickest battles seen at a cross-country championship ever, Pre would end up reigning supreme, demolishing the course record by over a minute and a half, and helping Oregon win their first team title in history. Okay, maybe not the second part. Initially, they had actually won, gone home with the trophy, the whole 9 yards. But after a film review via a protest from Villanova, their 5th runner had actually been miscounted due to him falling after the finish line, and the Wildcats would be the ones to steal the title back by just 1 single point. Anyways, going into Pre's junior year of cross country, he had an obscene amount of momentum behind him. As per usual, the division title was nothing short of an easy win. His conference title beat the course record by over a minute, and his showing at nationals would result in yet another individual title, except this time would get to celebrate with his entire team, capping off the perfect junior year. Senior year, however, would effectively be delayed due to Pre foregoing his eligibility temporarily to partake in the 1972 Olympics. Getting to the finals in the 5,000 meters, Pre would finish his debut in a very admirable 4th place, and would eventually return to Oregon for one final hurrah. And despite being granted essentially an extra year of training, this year's nationals, though, were looking to be his most difficult one yet. For the 1973 NCAA D1 cross-country championships, Pre would be thoroughly challenged for the first time ever in this sport since his freshman year, as the first mile is recorded at 4:20, and Western Kentucky's Nick Rose would lead the first 2 miles of the race, keeping the pace hot at an 8:57. The pack at this point in time is Pre, Rose, and John Nagano of Washington State. While Pre is known to front run just about any race you put him in, this is perhaps one of the rare photos where the tempo was actually too harsh for him for once, as halfway through, Rose seems to have a healthy gap. Rose would also hold the lead for about 4 miles in, but about a half mile later is when Pre would enter himself back into the mix to threaten a future move. Pre's first bouts of a healthy lead wouldn't take place until about a half mile to go, and with a final effort up the final hill of the course and a roaring crowd chanting his name, the Oregonian legend himself would pull off the legendary three-peat, being the second person next to Lindgren to put his place in the cross-country history books. Pre would later go on record stating that it was his hardest fought battle yet, but was as usual confident in his abilities to bring it home when it mattered. Oregon would also celebrate yet another victory, on top of Pre's win as a result as well. Unfortunately, this is where Pre's cross-country endeavors come to a close. He would win a European-styled 12K over his Oregon Track Club teammates, but when it came to the AAU National Championships, Pre had unfortunately not shown up to these. While the IAAF had just taken over the international cross-country scene with their own championships, Pre simply decided that track was much more dear to his heart, and would ultimately try to train for the upcoming 1976 Olympics. Of course, with the unfortunate passing of Pre in 1975, the chase for gold would not come into fruition, but he would be remembered as one of the most prolific American distance runners to ever live. Pre's history as a runner is one that resonates with many, but his cross-country achievements and career were fairly underlooked, all things considered, because there were quite a few gems where some athletes proved he wasn't exactly invincible at times, but then in typical Prefontaine fashion, he theatrically counteracted that notion by his sophomore year of college, and his knack for pushing the pace at every meet he could, breaking course record after another, will forever be revered by hardcore Pre fans, because he truly, deeply cared about racing with pure guts, regardless of the sport at hand. Thank you to all my patrons for supporting the channel, and if you want to support the channel for more content like this, come on over and become a patron, drop a sub, and check out my other links below. I'll see you on whatever video I upload next, and take care.